Hey everyone, it's Reed. I'm Stephanie's husband. I'm the one with the high stress tech job that she, I believe, has mentioned before. Um, and both of us have been kind of trying to live a better lifestyle and just try to be a little bit more mindful about everything that we're doing and what we're eating. That's part of why she's getting so big into the oils, and so am I. You'll see some videos about that in the future, I'm sure. Um, and so, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to get more into various hobbies. And one of the hobbies that I'm really interested in is gardening. And I have been for a long time, but unfortunately, a lot of the time I end up killing plants. Like, that is my thing, I kill plants. And so now I'm kind of determined, like, I've got to figure this thing out. Like, it's part of my long-term goals in life is to like potentially have a little farm and a little garden and be able to raise my own food and everything. So like it's really important that I figure this out. So um, this is really just me trying to sort of journal everything that I'm doing and my successes and my failures. I think it'll be helpful for myself and it'll be helpful for others. And I think it'll be kind of cool, hopefully, in a couple of years to be able to come back and look at these videos and think, like, wow, look at all that. Look at where I started and look at where my plants are now and everything. So, like I said, I've been wanting to garden for a while. This will be my second official foray into gardening. My first one I have sitting right here next to me. This is just a little succulent aloe plant that I got when I lived in Arizona. And you can see there's this little shoot here coming off of the main plant now. And that's how succulents reproduce, is they just grow little shoots off of the main plant. So as that gets a little bigger, I will actually transplant the little shoot and continue caring for my aloe plant. And at one point, this main aloe plant did have two other little aloe plants coming off of it, and I transplanted those in the same soil and actually wound up killing both of those. So that's what I mean. I kill everything, but I'm determined to figure this out, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and really all of these things all start with just one idea, and that idea for me is learn how to garden, learn how to grow your own food. And so from there you just have to take one step. I grew a succulent and it is still alive so far. And so now that next step for me is going to be growing an herb garden. And then there will be another step and another step. And just like anything in life, your success is ultimately going to depend on what you do when you stumble and what you do when you kill a plant or when you have a failure. And so for me, like this is my next step is I'm going to be growing an herb garden. And so that's actually a good segue is push this out of the way here. So for my herb garden, I actually just bought this little kit online, and it comes with basil, sage, cilantro, parsley, and thyme. And it also comes with everything else that you need to grow the plants, including instructions, which I love because I love it when something just lays out the steps like this for me. Kind of takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it, which is helpful for me when it comes to plants because otherwise I'm going to have a high failure rate if I just don't know what I'm doing. I've also been doing a lot of reading. I've ordered a couple of books online and have pretty much read those cover to cover. Um, so I will be doing some herbs here. I've got my little herb journal where I'm going to be documenting when I've planted things, when I expect them to germinate, when they actually germinate, when I expect to be able to harvest them, and when I actually harvest them. Um, so I'm here in just a little apartment in the city. I live in Seattle, And if it isn't enough that I live in Seattle where there isn't a lot of sun, I live in an inner apartment where we face an alley and we don't have a balcony. And so it's just going to be the sunlight coming in through the window that I have to play with. But I'm hoping that's going to be enough, at least during the summer here. And if it isn't, I have a UV lamp that I can use to supplement the light. And so hopefully the combination of the two will be enough. And to begin with, I'm just going to be watering them the normal old-fashioned way, pouring water on the pots, but ultimately I plan on coming up with a gravity-fed water system that will feed water to the plants continually. That way I don't lose interest in the plants and forget to water them or anything. So that'll be in a future video. And so today what I'm going to be doing the rest of this video is I have my little kit here, and yesterday I actually planted two of the plants out of the kit. It was the sage and parsley, and I started with both of these because these actually, the seeds needed to be pre-soaked for 24 hours before I planted them. So I figured those were the most difficult ones, so I started with those. And then today I'll be planting the rest of them and ultimately placing them in these pots here. And in my journal, one of the things that I have done in my reading is I figured out kind of germination periods and harvest periods and all of that kind of thing, and also how tall do each of the plants grow. And so here you can see where I've kind of figured out which plant is going to go in which pot. And so from here, I imagine what you'll see is kind of a quick edited version of me planting the, bring them out here, basil, thyme, and cilantro. So bear with me and we'll see what happens. All right, so like I said earlier, I started with this seed starter kit here that I bought online, and it comes with these handy directions. And basically, the process is pretty simple. It comes with these peat pellets that are actually kind of neat. It's just compressed peat that you pour hot water on. And the water is supposed to be 122 degrees, according to the instructions. That's the optimal temperature for them. And they expand 6 to 8 times the size they are right now, which is about an inch thick by, I don't know, a couple inches across there. And then after they expand, you squeeze out some of the extra liquid, break them up, put most of the dirt into one of these compostable cups that came with it, or compostable little planters. And then you sprinkle the seeds on top of the dirt, put the rest of the dirt on top of it, stick your little sign here that also came with the handy little starter kit into the dirt, and then you're done. So I'm going to start with the basil, which I'm actually really excited about. Out of all of these, that's probably the herb that I'm most excited about growing properly here. So I'm going to start with the basil, and I'll run through that process, and then I'll run through the other ones. And when I'm done, you can see I've got my little plastic, or not plastic, I don't know what they are, planters back here in the background with my other herbs that I already planted yesterday. Alright, so now you can actually see the peat moss has grown above the edge of the bowl here. And I'll just tip it sideways so you can see it. It's kind of in some brown sludgy water. I'll pull it out in a second, but that thing started out this big and now it's this massive thing of peat moss soil. So that's kind of neat and super helpful. Grab my little basil stick, put that in there. And like I said before, I want to put all of these in a specific order based on germination times and how tall they're going to grow and everything. And so I can see that basil is supposed to go in B. And so now I can just drop basil into my little center container here. And that one is done. All right, so I did the same exact thing with my cilantro here, which is the last one, and just followed the same exact steps as I did with the other ones, all of my other herb plants. So now, according to my little plan that I have in my journal, the cilantro goes right here on the end. And the reason I'm doing this is when I grow them, I'm going to grow them in this order. So I've got the thyme, the basil, the thyme, basil, cilantro, parsley, and sage. And the parsley and the cilantro here in the middle, they should grow fastest. And so they will grow here in the middle. The thyme here in the outside is going to grow the slowest. And so my thought process here is these two will grow pretty fast. The basil is going to grow kind of a little bit slower than that. And then the thyme is going to grow even slower than that. And my concern was if I put the thyme in between two that grow faster, they might actually shade the plant, the thyme plant, and hinder its growth. And so I've got them all laid out here in my little container. And this one on the end I'm leaving open for right now. And my plan is eventually I'm going to build a gravity fed water system where it will just continually drip water into all of these plants. And then I can just put my water and my solution in this one hopper here and I don't have to worry about watering them on a daily basis. And so pretty much all of them, in fact, I think all of them should start to germinate in 2 to 3 weeks. And so that means the little green buds should start to show up above the dirt. Fingers crossed. And so I'll be watering them and keeping an eye on them until then, making sure they get plenty of sun, making sure the water or the soil stays damp. And I will do an update when I have something to update everybody on. So wish me luck. Hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll have some herbs.